Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Own Your Essence podcast, where we get to have deep transformational conversations with some of our favorite people. I'm your host, April DeMille, and today we are speaking to a lady named Sarah Roccisano. She is a world traveling author, an international speaker, a way shower, and the founder of Emboldened Adventures. And also, she's got the coolest fucking last name ever. I'm always so jealous when I hear some of these last names because I'm like, what happened to mine? Jesus. Hi. Okay. So
Hello.
I just did your introduction, but if you want to go ahead and give a little spill of your own, you are more than welcome to do that. I would love that actually.
Well, thanks for having me, April. My name is Sarah Roccisano, and I'm a world traveling author, motivational speaker, and the founder of Emboldened Adventures. That is an encouragement platform that inspires personal, professional, and spiritual development and transformation. And my first book is coming out later this year, 2026. I'm very excited.
Oh, nice. We definitely want to hear about that too. That'll be fun. So can you give us a little idea what your book is based on?
Yeah, it's part of a three-part series, my Emboldened Adventures transformational series, and it's a 100% true story of my travel adventures from 2019 into current 2026. So the three books are broken out into the Awake and Radiate, Surrender and Adventure, and Transform and Reborn parts of this transformation of mine. And this first book out the gate is called Stone Temple Passport, Awake and
Okay.
Radiate with Mama Ayahuasca.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I had questions about ayahuasca.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
but I also had questions because you made a transition from like the corporate world, right? Like what 20-year corporate career, and I'm curious, like what was the catalyst for that huge transformation?
Oh, it's a big one. If we had more time, I could tell you every single bit of that
Yeah.
transformation. So yeah, as we were speaking before we got going, New York City was my home for 20 plus years. And once I graduated undergrad, I went right to Manhattan in 2002. And I had a 20 plus year career starting out in investment banking on Wall Street. And I was an investment banker for about 10 years. Definitely through the 2008 financial crisis. That was very interesting times to be, seeing it, front and center as our clients were, managing the downfall of a financial global crisis throughout the world. And then from there, I moved on to the renewable energy industry in the private equity space, and then onward to the development space where I was developing projects and financing projects. And then from there, I worked in the government, and then I hit my big brick wall in 2022 after, $30 billion of transactions I participated in over my career. And along the way, three layoffs that were very intense and very difficult to get through, one of which was a 2.5 year period of unemployment. So, in that time, I was able to balance my love of travel with a very hectic, stressful, toxic work environment sort of existence in New York City in the middle of Manhattan. And then when I hit that brick wall, it was enough is enough, which is part of that transformation series that I will go into in my books. But what really did it in was just one, last what do they say? The straw that broke the camel's back. It was just, a comment that came from a conference call that I was on and I was presenting to senior management. And I knew then and there it was this isn't going to work. And I had a bit of a breakdown emotionally. And this was post 2020 coronavirus, experiencing that in New York City, and just knowing that this just isn't going to work for me anymore, and I really want to transform my life.
Yeah. So, and that's a lot. Like that's a lot to just like get to the, like you said, the brick wall to where you're like, oh, holy shit, I'm having this epiphany, but it's all at once, right? Like I've got this moment that just happened and it's throwing me into this very uncomfortable territory. And how do I even pick up the pieces? Where do we start, you know? And do you have any advice for somebody that is maybe in a similar situation? Like, how did you navigate that? Where did you go with this? You know, so many questions, girl.
Oh, so much to talk about it.
Yeah,
Where do I go with it and how do I navigate it? Well, I'm still
yeah,
navigating.
fair.
And the good news is that I think what I I truly believe that things are meant to happen the way they happen. And,
Mhm.
looking back at one of my favorite quotes is from Soren Kierkegaard, life is lived forward, understood backward. And looking back and doing a lot of reflection over time, this was meant to happen the way it happened. And as I mentioned, I was laid off 3 times. I was my only breadwinner, still am. And I had to hold down that expensive mortgage of the apartment I owned in Manhattan. So not having a job for 2.5 years for one of the times I was unemployed definitely was a difficult time. This was in the 2014 to 2017 time frame, roughly.
Yeah.
And there is where I learned a lot of the fundamentals about, what it takes to walk away, what it takes to survive and, thrive without, that sort of corporate protection over your head. And so this time around, when I decided to walk away from it all, I already had like a dress rehearsal. I had the training wheels
Yeah.
already from years past. But ultimately, I think the answer is it's listening to that internal compass,
Yeah.
that kind of beacon of light that knows that this doesn't feel right, and I'm not going to put up with this, and I'm not going to be second fiddle to the job, to the external world. I ultimately am sovereign in my existence, and I can manifest whatever I want based on what is the joy within me. But in order to get to that space, it requires a lot of healing and a lot
Mhm.
of nervous system regulation too. So it's an overtime process, but in my case, I hit that brick wall and I was like, I have no choice but I have to do this. I quit.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and like you said, you kind of had a little window of time where you had already been in a very uncomfortable situation. So it probably, you got to be proactive in that time and be like, how can I make moves differently if this comes up again, being laid off or whatever, right? So I think that there's no coincidence in the world giving you that opportunity to figure some things out, so you could better prepare yourself for what was coming. Um, and maybe what you had already potentially been manifesting. Speaking on that note, can you offer some maybe some advice or words of wisdom on how to discern intuition from escapism?
How to discern intuition from escapism. Well, I don't know how to answer the escapism part.
Okay.
I think about it this way. Intuition speaks in statements, and anxiety speaks in questions. So
Okay.
is escapism speaking in questions is really maybe the way I want to maybe define what
Uh,
escapism really means,
yeah.
right? What's
Yeah.
happening? Why do I not like this? That's sort of kind of running away from maybe a problem. Like how people get up and move somewhere else, go to a new state. The problem's still going to find you if it's not addressed.
Right.
But I think intuition, knows what's right. I'm going to do this. There's a certainty. There's no question. And so I think that's where you can find some sense of peace about knowing that you're making the right choices here because this feels right.
For sure. And I think that, well, and that might also be the difference or a similarity between ego-driven boldness and soul-led courage too, right? Because trying to figure out even what the differences between those are. And I feel like soul-led is more intuitive and
Absolutely.
ego is definitely more fear-based. And so trying to find, and I feel like intuition, even though it can be subtle, it can be really loud when it's time to make a move.
It can be.
Yeah.
My book goes into that. I actually go into the discussion of what is ego
Yeah.
and how ego can be of service and how ego can really run rampant and cause trouble, conflicts, and massive problems in the world. I think
Yeah.
ego is necessary. You have to have an ego. It is
It's
helpful in the
human.
sense it's human, but it gives
Yeah.
you a sense of purpose. It gives you
Yeah.
an identification of this is the task I'm now taking on to
Yeah.
bring forth change. But when ego goes rampant and runs out of control, it's there's an imbalance. There's a lack of reciprocity at this point. So my book goes into this concept called Aini, which is an important indigenous concept in the Amazon about the principle of reciprocity. We
Okay.
all are collectively gaining as we share and care in some ways. And
Yeah.
so the ego, when it's unchecked, that reciprocity breaks down. I win, you lose. It's not that sense of abundance, it's that sense of scarcity. So I think ego is important, but at the same time, like you got to be careful with your ego because once it breaks down, we see all these conflicts in the world and
Yeah.
destruction of the environment and the like.
Well, and I'm actually really glad that you talked about that and that you go into further depth on the subject in your book because um, you see so much, so many things online, right? About, oh, don't do this, then you're in your ego. And it's a lot of almost like shaming humanity for being human. Like we all have egos, right? Like that's part of the human experience. So it is absolutely necessary. It's in our wiring, right? We can't get fucking rid of it. Like, but there is a balance to everything, like you say, and trying to figure out what that is and all that stuff. But there's a lot of bypassing information out there that's like, oh, stop coming from the ego or what? No, you can't just turn it off. Like it doesn't work like that. But it's cute
Well,
that people think so.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We're in this 3D realm, this illusion that we're in the material realm. And so we are in the higher realms, the higher dimensions, all one. And so
Right.
the ego allows for us to see that we're separate. This is the
Right.
space of separateness. We're all having our unique experiences.
Yes.
The perspective of the creator is an infinite perspective. I don't know. Are you familiar with Alex Gray, the painter, the psychedelic painter?
Well, no, not necessarily, but I'm familiar with the ideology you're talking about.
Yeah, I got to meet him twice, and we were just at his Chapel of Sacred Mirrors up in Wappinger Falls about a month and a half ago. And I got to see his Infinite Eyes painting, among
Hmm.
the other famous works that he's done. He's that artist for the band Tool on all
Oh,
their
okay.
album covers.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got a sense of that sort of
Yeah.
kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
And he talked on stage about that infinite painting, the Infinite Eyes painting. It's a painting where the eyeballs are all looking outward in sort of a circle.
Yeah.
And so it's an infinite perspective of one creator source. And so we're all a manifestation, a fractalized
Yeah.
sort of vessel of source. And so
Totally.
in order to be in that state of illusion of separateness, you need the ego. So you
Well,
could push back politely to those naysayers in the
yeah.
spiritual world.
And I think it when I think about it, I think about a disco ball, right? Because you've got
Exactly.
all the little mirrors everywhere. And so yeah, I think that those individual expressions are important and they're what reminds us of the oneness and where we come from. So it is absolutely necessary. So yeah, fun conversations on that for sure. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you talked about ayahuasca.
Mhm.
Yeah. So for people that are not familiar with ayahuasca, can you elaborate?
So it's a very powerful plant medicine, a psychedelic. It's known as the Mount Everest of psychedelics. And it's a
Okay.
plant medicine that the Shipibo people of the Amazon, but also others like the Camiseta people of the Colombian Amazon and other sort of indigenous wisdom keepers and lineage holders have used this plant medicine for thousands of years. And it is a combination, it's really a tea, it's a brew, and it's a combination of the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf. And the chacruna leaf is the one that has the DMT molecule, the potent psychedelic that causes the visions and the connection to higher realms and the like. And the ayahuasca vine is the one that has this enzyme inhibitor, MAO enzyme inhibitor. We have this MAO enzyme in our body currently, and we have DMT in our body naturally as well. And
Right.
also can be ingested in lettuce and other sort of, organic plants that we eat. But once the ayahuasca combines with the chacruna, the enzyme that's in the ayahuasca blocks these receptors in our brain and allows for the DMT from the chacruna leaf to come in and flood our brains and help us, kind of transcend into these realms in a visual way, even an experiential way. And the Shipibo shamans, the maestros and maestras hold space and they hold ceremony for you to kind of allow for your traveling in the psychedelic realms. But really, the medicine ultimately is the Icaros, which are the songs of the plants, the vibrational energies. I get goosebumps, so I feel the energies. And so it was, my book goes into all this detail. It was described to us as the ayahuasca is the syringe, so the brew that you drink is the syringe, and the real medicine is the icaros that come out of the syringe. So it's a combination of setting. You're immersed in the environment of the Amazon with the plants. You're getting the sounds, the ecros of songs of plants from the shamans that are singing and holding space and protecting the energetic realm. And then you go and the medicine teaches you what you need to see. You come in with intention, and Mama Ayahuasca is an embodied spirit, and you get to see her sometimes. So it's quite powerful and it's very transformative. And so I've got to work with the medicine now 10 times in various settings beyond just the time my book describes in this first book in 2020, right before the world came crashing down. I went to the rainforest, and this is what this book talks about. I was gone for 5 weeks. I come back to New York City going, what's going on, man? What's coronavirus? I was completely out of touch of it all.
Oh, you were probably
And
so safe from it there too.
yeah, yeah, I was gone. I left New York. It turns out I had it before I left in 2019. So it was going around way before we even knew about this. But
Right.
yeah, so my book will go into all that. But ayahuasca is transformative. It's something where you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So tread with caution, have respect for it, and I would suggest, working in a safe space that, has the right wisdom keepers that are there to help you, really usher in the medicine and the discoveries. There's so much to learn and grow with this medicine.
So with you talk about the wisdom keepers, is that, I mean, you said that they're kind of like what helps keep the space. How does that really play into your transformation though? Like, is it kind of like they help keep you grounded if you start to have dark, like shadow trips or something? Because when I think ayahuasca, I have no clue. I think mushrooms or something from back when I was a kid, when I was doing psychedelics like that or acid, whatever, right? So that's the closest I can even like wrap my head around this, right? Um, and I have my own thoughts on like psychedelics and what I would kind of consider almost what's the word I'm looking for? Like a forced awakening, if that makes sense. And so I don't know if that, like, I don't even know how I feel about all that, but like that's something maybe I could talk to you about too. Like what are your thoughts on that? Where do you stand with that?
Well, everyone talks about the bad trip, right? There's going to be bad
Yeah.
trips. And every time you work with the medicine, there's something different that comes from it. There's no one repeated experience. The medicine
Yeah.
shows you what you need to see. And, in my book, I talk about we worked in 7 ceremonies, and the seventh ceremony was a very, very, very difficult one for me. So you're asking about the wisdom keepers, and I actually had a conversation when I was in Ecuador this past July, where I worked at ayahuasca again. And I asked one of our friends who's, one of the shamans there, and I said, what are they doing? What really is going on when they're in ceremony holding space? Because they also ingest the ayahuasca. They're playing music, the rattle, they're, kind of cleansing the space energetically. We worked with the camiseta people, the Taitas who came in from Colombia. So their ceremonies are very different as opposed to the Shipibo in Peru and in the Amazon. So I was very much interested in watching kind of the comparing and contrasting. They're using harmonicas, they have jaguar teeth, very different. And
Yeah.
so I asked the next morning, like, what's Taita Wan doing while he's sitting there playing the harmonica? And Tuamari is my friend who's the shaman, and he goes, well, he is in multi dimensions, his sort of essence.
Right.
And what he's doing is it's extraordinary because they have to really kind of they practice and grow their gifts for 15, 20, 30 years. And, these are the head shamans that are really holding the
Right.
space
So they're
with
dream
their
walking, they're
assistant.
astral traveling and projecting. They're doing all the things to be in all the places.
They can be. They're
Yeah.
they're working individually with everyone in the room,
Okay.
in parallel to holding the container and making sure that it's protected from any sort of negative energies that don't belong there. And he's on his own journey too in the higher realms. But ultimately what he's doing is he's holding space for the medicine to come in. He's not doing the work in terms of like, I'm now transforming you. He's
Right.
just saying, come on in. I'm holding the space for you, medicine, you sort of higher power. Maybe it's your higher power even coming in. I met God and Jesus during one of the ceremonies, so it could be
Yeah.
as much as source coming in for all we know. But that's what the shamans are doing, the good ones anyway. They're making sure that, they're the stewards, the usher, the sort of director, if you will, of the show, and allowing for the medicine to really be the star with you,
Okay.
co-create.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a perfect answer. So when you would have these experiences with the ayahuasca, what kind of changes in trajectory would you experience afterwards?
Well, integration's important. So it's not like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna go home
Yeah,
now, you know?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and so this is why that this book that my book Stone Temple Passport is it's my 5 week adventure because there's still on the back end time to be with the land and to integrate and to be in kind of quiet territory. There was no way I was getting on a plane going right back to Manhattan, you know? It just couldn't
yeah,
work. So I
yeah,
think in terms of where this goes is um, being in nature, journaling,
yeah,
reflecting. Again, the Søren Kierkegaard, live it forward, understand it backward. Seeing where the medicine was showing you maybe hard to see things about yourself, your ego, where your traumas were in your life. And that's what Ceremony 7 was all about for me. It was every single trauma I could imagine that came up that I had to address. Clearing stuck blockages in your chakras and your energy field, your life review in some ways, feeling as if
hmm
your ego completely dissolves in an ego death. I,
yeah.
I mean, the sky's the limit. There's so much that, you can learn and grow from if you're so willing to still continue to do the work after, the ceremony's over.
Well, and do you think that people can do that stuff even without the ayahuasca? Like it doesn't
Sure.
actually take the ayahuasca to have those experiences, but it's like a deeper level or a deeper connection with oneness. Maybe when you're ready to reach that level.
Not everyone should do it,
Oh,
obviously,
okay. Yeah.
because if you're taking SSRIs, like some of these, well, if you're going to a facility, they should be asking you these questions. Certain medications, prescriptions you're on, you're not going to do this. If you're
Yeah.
bipolar, sort of mental health issues, you are not doing this.
Right.
So, there are some things to keep in mind, but it's not for everybody. It absolutely is not for everybody, and it shouldn't be for everybody. It's a sacred medicine.
Yeah,
And so and I agree to this. People say you're called. The medicine calls you.
for sure.
And I felt the call for sure. And I talk about how I basically got whisked away from downtown Manhattan. And then here I am, weeks later on a plane in the Amazon.
Which
So,
is
and
how a
look,
call works. So that's exactly how it goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's no one way of this is how it has to be. It's just this is your story. And
Yeah.
are you ready to turn your page?
Well, and I'm glad that you're writing your stories, by the way, and like getting
Thank you.
ready to put all that out there and share with everybody. I think that's really cool. That's
Thank you.
very, very awesome. So, if your entire life were a message, what would it teach?
To be emboldened, which is my company, Emboldened Adventures,
Right.
to get out there and see the world, whether the world's within or without. I really truly believe that we're the masters of our universe and we can create anything we want. Again, it goes back to the healing you need to do first, and sense of worth, and how you think about yourself in a positive way and what you want out of life, because we shouldn't be pushed around. This is what this we were talking before this started about how we're in a shift right now energetically. There's
Yeah.
this ascension happening. Everything's breaking down around us, but there's growth that comes from this. The phoenix is going to rise from the ashes as we collectively ascend. And so I think that's what this is about. This is realizing our sovereignty, realizing our power comes from within, and we're not going to be pushed around anymore by the systems.
Yeah.
The systems are what keeping us down, the thumb on us.
Yeah.
And so I think ultimately that's the lesson, is to be emboldened, to know your worth, to know what your non-negotiables are, to not put up with bullshit, and to say, I want to do what I want to do. And I want to
Yeah.
live my life the way I feel, called to go, and
Yeah.
have the courage to do it.
Yeah. I like that. It's beautiful. I mean, exploration is important and pushing past those limits is invaluable. So, yeah. So, okay, quick question. A place in the world that changed you forever, maybe other than the one we already talked about.
At least in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, my second home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it changed me. It forced me. It forced me to change. I mean,
Yeah.
it served its purpose for sure. I mean, not everyone can say they were able to survive for 2 decades in this really really intense world.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I learned a lot. I mean, I saw a lot, working in these kind of high echelon, global tier banks, and the sort of work I was doing in these, global companies, and the projects we were working on. So, looking back, it was a blessing in some ways, and at the same time, it was eye-opening because it was very intense, very toxic,
Yeah.
and yet I still got through and I survived and thrived. So yeah, New York taught me a lot, and now I'm like, no more. I'm never going back there ever again. The whole city's breaking down, and
You're
I'm so
like, thank you,
glad.
goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye. Thank you. Yeah, I thank you. That's what we say.
Yeah.
Everything's a
Thank you,
blessing.
goodbye.
Even
Yeah.
everything's a blessing. Yeah, because I sold, and I'm out the door 2024. So yeah, I'm grateful. But
Yeah.
it was quite an experience. It was quite an experience at the time when I was there, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to even feel, well, I can't say for everybody that's true. I'm going to say sometimes it can be a challenge to feel gratitude in the midst of all the chaos, but the gratitude, we typically see it at some point, several
I
times.
hope
But
I
yeah.
hope you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
you can because
Yeah.
everything's a blessing when you look at it
For sure.
objectively and calmly in a regulated nervous system. When all is said and done, you're like, thank goodness that happened to me or for
Yeah.
me.
There you go. It's like not happening to you, but for you. Absolutely. I love that one. Yeah. Okay. So, and I know we talked about ayahuasca, but a favorite ritual.
I spirit walk every morning. So what does that
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. What does
I
that mean?
am now in nature, as we were talking before, I'm in Connecticut now and we're about to get a blizzard. And so for me now, what I do first thing in the morning is I go for a walk up this really big hill I live on. And at the top, I remind myself of abundance. I look around, 360-degree views. I connect with the land. I connect with the sky. Case in point, today, a bobcat crossed my path. I see
Oh,
hawks.
nice.
I see coyotes, sometimes deer. And so it's a great place, no technology. Now it's with my dog, and it's the same path every day. Go for the walk, have say my gratitude, say my blessings, know my, world of abundance. And depending on how I'm feeling, like sometimes I'm feeling really down, and then the next day I'm actually in a good mood, and I'll remind myself, see, you feel better today. You're at the same spot yesterday, you're crying. Today you feel better. So it's a way to like help gauge and ground and let the sunlight get into your eyes and help kind of invigorate you. And then from there I go and I play my Native American drum. I bang it while I chant Nam Myo Ho Renge Kyo, which is a Buddhist chant about the power of manifestation, which gets me into a meditative state. And then I try to imagine while I'm doing this clearing my seven chakras and allowing for the energy to reflow and put some protection on me for the day. It's
Nice.
definitely an important ritual for sure.
Yeah. It's literally invoking all the powers that be before you even start your day.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. A belief that you have outgrown.
That I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
That
that's
I'm
a
not
good one.
enough.
Yeah,
Totally wrong.
totally wrong. I agree. Yeah, that's a hard belief to outgrow, by the way.
It's from the programming of the Matrix,
Yeah,
from the
totally.
programming of these institutions that are breaking down now. They
Yeah,
want you to believe you're not enough. They want you to feel disempowered. They
yeah.
want you to stay in fear and low vibration. It's better to control you that way. And we're not
Yeah,
going to be controlled anymore. Too
yeah,
bad. Bye.
yeah. So sorry. Bye. Yeah,
Nice knowing you.
yeah. No, I love that. Okay, something you are currently shedding now.
I love this question because I was just going through it 2 days ago with I am part of this inner circle women's group, this luncheon up in Hartford that my friend runs. And I was in the hot seat for the first time. And what they all do, the women, they're all entrepreneurs here, and they try to really. It's all confidential, so we sign waivers, do not say anything. But I could speak to myself, so I'm going to say it. But I got up there in the chair, and I was like, "Listen, I am having trouble with the transition. Even though I'm, inspiring transformation, I'm in the middle of feeling this identity shift." Like I still identify with that New York world. And for the first time, I have no idea where I want to go. Like this, where I am now, is a temporary kind of fix, but ultimately, bigger picture, it's like, where do I want to live? where do I want to go in this world? I don't want to be in Florida. I don't want to be in California. I don't want to be in, wherever, Boston. I'm not going back, definitely not going back to New York City or New York State for that matter. So where the heck do I want to go? And so that's a lot of the shedding that I'm still trying to do. And, afterwards, my friend who runs the circle and I had a conversation, and she goes, I think what you're feeling is grief. I think it's a grief of, of your identity. And she goes, and she asked me again, she goes, well, she asked me this before, but she asked me again, she goes, have you purged your clothes yet in your closet? And it's like, it's funny you mentioned that because I was literally just looking at all these old suits I used to wear, to office meetings and whatever. And like all my high heels are still here, all my Prada bags, all this, like New York City look and feel. And I don't wear them anymore. I go barefoot most days. And my dog actually, as I was looking at my closet of all these clothes I don't wear anymore, the next day I found she went in my closet and ate one of my most favorite shoes. And I had to throw it out. And I was like, I've had these shoes for so long. They're my favorite shoes. And she ate it. She like
Yeah.
destroyed it. And so I was like, well, there you go. The universe is telling me I need to start purging. So I
Yep.
haven't done that yet, but I think that's another kind of step I need to
Ritual.
take to shed, right?
Yeah.
Like, am I
Yeah.
wearing those nice suits? I went to Fashion Week one time in New York City, and I was like a runway, and I bought this really expensive suit. Do I wear it? No. Do I need
Yeah.
to wear it? No. Am I going to wear it to you know, a journey circle with shamans in Ecuador? No.
No.
So why is it still hanging in my closet?
Yeah. Honestly, I should
Yeah,
probably
it's
purge my closet too. I try to purge like every 2 or 3 months, but I I sometimes my weight has fluctuated, so I hold on to clothes because of the fluctuation. But honestly, I'm like, do I really even need to do that? Like, if it's taking up so much space, then maybe I shouldn't even have to do that. So, yeah. That's a great awareness, though, to be like, oh, yeah, look at all this stuff taking up space. And what another beautiful example of a ritual to help kind of, move that
embrace the
shedding.
new.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Open arms. I'm the new person. I'm my more authentic self now. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself. I'm wearing an anaconda bracelet from the Amazon rainforest I got in July. Like, okay, this is me now, this feels
You
real.
could
Good. This
rock
is my
that with some
energy.
like Prada shoes if you wanted to.
Possibly, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
those
so
shoes
fun.
don't do well in the Amazon. I remember one time I was in Palau. I'm a big scuba diver, and we went out all the way to this country that's near the Philippines. It took us 30 hours to get there from New York, and we took 4 planes. We had three transits. And the scuba diving is amazing. It's a shark sanctuary. And there's this archipelago of islands that are called the Rock Islands, which are just so beautiful. And we went there because there's this lake in one of the islands called Jellyfish Lake. And back in the day, I guess when the waters were at higher levels, it was more of an ocean. And then when the waters dropped, the lake got left behind because the rocks, the mountains kind of, protected it. And
Yeah.
so over time, this lake became a freshwater lake, and the only thing living there are jellyfish. And why am I
Oh,
telling you
wow.
this? Because here we are now hiking. We're bringing our like fins for because you're snorkeling, and we have our masks, and we're wearing like flip-flops, and it's very steep, very rocky, very like sharp-edged rocks in the pathway, no banisters, very narrow. And we're like, oh my God, it's taking forever to get to this lake. And then we turn around, we look around, and there was this Russian girl with high heels navigating the same path. And we're like, what is that? Oh
Wow.
my God. Yeah, wow is right. We're like, how is she handling this? It was one of those like candies, you had like the platform front and then like kind of the high heel
Yeah.
and no strapping on the back. And she's just like, just making my way. Yeah, there you go.
That is
So I don't
some
know.
talent. Good for her.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm going to be doing. No, thank you.
You're like, I'm gonna step past that a little bit. That's so fun. So Sarah, do you have any final words of wisdom for the audience before we hop off of here? Anything else that you
Believe in
feel?
yourself. Believe in
Okay.
yourself. Embrace this time because this is an extraordinary time for humanity. And everything's breaking down. And that's a good thing. Look at it as a good thing because this allows for our souls to kind of rise and transform for the way that's best served for us and the collective. So don't try your best to stay out of fear and trust that things are going to work themselves out for our greater good and put light out there and listen to that inner voice and really work on healing yourself because I believe that we got a lot of good things to look forward to.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I feel like we need um, more positive encouragement like that. So thank you for that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And thank
Thank you
you
for
for
having
being
me.
here. Yeah, no, it was awesome that we got to hang out. You're the first person I've had on that's talked about ayahuasca and all the traveling. And so it's actually really, really good, engaging, in a different way. Like it's reaching different audience members because I have no idea even what ayahuasca was. Like I'm like, I don't know. I've heard about it, but I don't know what it is, right? Like I have no clue. So it's nice to have your spin on that.
My pleasure. And read my book, you'll get more information.
For sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to help me tell everybody goodbye, bye, you guys. See you next
Bye.
time.